Hello friends, my name is Ramsu. Today we shall discuss about topic that what is the difference or comparison of Agile and Scrum. Friend, today's topic is very interesting, especially if you have interest in Agile and Scrum and you want to learn about it. So let's start, friend. First of all, I would request to please subscribe to my YouTube channel and click on the bell option as well so that my videos can reach to you, and also you can follow me on the Facebook page as well. Friend, Agile and Scrum are basically concepts which we used in the software development, and to manage these software based projects we use these concepts Agile and Scrum. Agile and Scrum are similar to each other, but they both are different concepts. Many times it happens that people think that Agile and Scrum are the same concept. However, it is not true. Agile is basically different. Agile and Scrum are similar, but they both are separate and different concepts. So first we shall discuss about Agile. Agile is basically an approach for software development that emphasize flexibility, collaboration, and customer satisfaction. It aims to deliver value to customer in smaller increments, enabling team to adopt the changing requirements and feedback. Basically, friend, Agile is basically a very flexible approach, adaptable approach, and it based on the concept of increments, or the you can say a chunk-based approach in which we divide the project into smaller chunks and we deliver the project or task to the customer, whatever the most important value task to the customer, so that we can get his feedback. And also the acceptability for changes in Agile is more as compared to other approaches like waterfall, etc. The Agile Manifesto was published in 2001, and it outlines that the individuals and interactions over processes and tools. That means the interaction with customers and teams are more important than processes and tools. First thing, then also the software working. Like working software is more important than documentation. Customer collaboration is more important over contract negotiations, and uh, responding to changes over following a plan is more important. So that means basically these are the basic manifesto of Agile. So that is why Agile is more popular in organizations, and they are moving towards it. Agile methodologies value customer feedback. It has a concept of iterative development and the ability to respond to changing requirements. Agile is basically a concept in which customer feedback is very important. Whatever customer is giving the feedback, we always value it. We always change the things as per the customer feedback, and also the adaptability for the changes in Agile is more flexible, more adaptable, and like the adaptability for changing is not so rigid in Agile. Whatever the changes are required in the project, if customer required it, so it is more flexible, it is more adaptable in Agile as well. Now we can talk about the Scrum. Scrum is basically a framework which is based on the Agile approach. Okay, that basically implementing Agile principles. Agile principles means that the iterative based approach, increment based approach, flexibility, adaptability. Okay, it is widely used for managing complex software development project, and Scrum focus on again the breaking work into smaller chunks, manageable units called as sprints. Sprints are basically a 3 to 4 weeks time period in which we divide the work. Like for example, if there are 40 tasks, we can take 10 tasks and make a sprint in which we will plan, develop, test the for 10 tasks, and then the next sprint will happen, and in the next sprint we again plan, develop, test, and deploy. So that is why the concept of a Scrum is very popular. Scrum has a concept of transparency as well. Like the team, Scrum team is very independent, and transparency is very important among the team members as well. Scrum team has majorly three roles. Product owner role. Product owner is basically a bridge between the customer and the Scrum team. And Scrum product owner has all the knowledge about product backlog, like whatever the requirements which you need to develop. And team is basically talking with the product owner. Is product owner needed any information, he can contact with customer and provide all the necessary information to the Scrum team. Then the Scrum Master is another role. A Scrum Master is a person who has the knowledge about Scrum methodologies, and he's basically having a role of a facilitator, and he basically support the team wherever there is any impediments or problems. Then the next is the Scrum development team. Scrum development team is basically the core development team, like for example the graphic designers, the software engineers, the deployment team. The core team is basically called as Scrum development team. Scrum development team is self-organized, self-motivated, and decision makers. There is no concept of a boss in the Scrum team. Okay, then the artifacts, there are mainly a few artifacts are there, like the product backlog is the whole complete prioritized list of features or tasks which needs to be developed in a product. Then the sprint backlog is a subset of the product backlog, which contains the task that needs to be developed in a sprint is again the 3 to 4 weeks time period in which we develop the things. Then the increment is basically a, like for example, let me give an example of a increment is basically a potentially releasable piece of software at the end of each sprint. Like for example, in the first sprint we have completed 10 tasks. Okay, so this is the first increment. Then in the next sprint we have completed 10 more tasks, so now 20 tasks are completed. So now the increment will be of the 20 tasks. So basically it is the releasable piece of software which we can release it to the customer, which we can provide it to the customer. Okay, so that is the concept of increment. Events are basically, first event is the sprint planning meeting. Sprint planning meeting means that the Scrum team, the product owner, Scrum master, they basically sit together and they plan the sprint means that what needs to be done in the sprint, it will be planned in the sprint planning meeting. Then the daily scrum meeting is approximately 15 minutes meeting in which the teams synchronize with each other. They discuss what tasks are completed yesterday, what we are going today, what problems they are facing, etc, etc. So basically but it should not be a more than a 15 minutes meeting, it should be a short meeting. Then a sprint review meeting. Sprint review meeting means that we demonstrate the completed work to the stakeholders like customer or the major stakeholders, and we get their feedback. Then a sprint retrospective. Sprint retrospective is basically a session which we held after the completion of the sprint review meeting. In that sprint retrospective, we discussed that what went well, what went wrong, and the positive things should be continued and the negative things should be avoided. And the sprint retrospective is not a, you can think this as a blame game. Basically it's a session in which we try to improve the things and try to improve the things in the next sprint. Then time box sprint. Time box sprint means it is basically an iteration called as a sprint, typically normally 1 to 4 weeks. And at the end of the sprint, we potentially shippable product increment is delivered. A sprint is basically a 1 to 4 week time period in which we plan, develop, test, and deploy the task. Okay, so that is called as sprint. So, friend, in summary, we can say that Agile is basically a broader philosophy. Agile is not a framework; it's basically a philosophy which says that flexibility which emphasize flexibility and customer value. That customers should get a value after the completion of a project. Agile approach that provide a structured process for managing and delivering work in iterative cycle, which is, you can say, divide the work into smaller chunks and deliver the chunks to the chunks of tasks to the customer and gets their feedback. So agile is more flexible, adaptable, and it always value customer, and also it inclined towards the changes as well. However, the Scrum is basically a framework which is based on the agile principles and agile methodologies, and it provides you a complete framework. So that is why there are specific rules, specific artifacts, specific events, and agile is complete frameworks to implement the philosophy of the agile actually. Okay, agile Scrum is also other there are other methodologies are available like Kanban, extreme programming, lean, are also basically the methodologies which is based on agile philosophy as well. So friend, thanks a lot for watching the video. I hope you like this video. If you like it, please share it with your friends and colleagues, and thanks a lot for watching the video.